There's a block by Clark. There's a block by Street. Look at the moves, the spin, the corkscrew, the touchdown! Turbin! 6-yard touchdown!
Welcome back to another episode of Turbomood with your hosts, Liv Moods and Robert Turbo Turbin. We have a special guest today, Turbin. Who is it? Let us know.
We got former CFL DB, NFL DB, the Chiefs, Steelers, Toronto, and Hamilton's. I don't know what their mascot names are, though.
Tiger Cats.
Okay.
Tiger Cats.
Oh, I like that one. Tiger Cats.
Yeah. Donald Washington, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into anything, though, I feel like what happened to the video? I felt like it got kind of cut short right there.
It felt a little abrupt. I wasn't expecting to be back on camera.
It felt
so fast.
abrupt. Like it just, boom, we back, we here. It just start, show time to start the show. I'm like, damn.
Good thing you weren't doing anything embarraing, because that would have
been. I mean, because I was at first. I thought I had more time.
Oh my gosh. Well, Donald,
building.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us and talk with us. We've got some really fun topics to talk about with you, and I'm looking forward to it. But first, why don't you just tell us your story, about your career and how you ended up in the CFL and what you're up to now.
So I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. Grew up right next to the fairgrounds. 3 sisters, mom and dad were always around. Grew up in a less fortunate, I would say, environment, but we made the most of everything. So I'm thankful. Graduated from high school, south side of Indianapolis High School, Franklin Central. Went to Ohio State on a football scholarship, graduated communication degree. So I went to school. I redshirted my freshman year. So when I entered the draft, I was actually a junior eligibility wise, but I had graduated. So I left early, but I really didn't. Drafted by the Chiefs in the 4th round, pick 102. I was drafted as a corner, ended up playing safety. I moved around a little bit, played multiple positions. At the end of my 3rd year, so basically in the off season, going into my 4th year in Kansas City, I had got into a little bit of trouble in the off season. So I got released. And that's what led me to the CFL, basically. I had got into a little bit of trouble, and I had to go over there to basically prove myself again.
Yeah.
One, prove that I could still play, but prove that I could handle myself as a professional on and off the field again. So I went to Canada. I was on a 1+1 deal. Basically, that means you have to play for a year and then you're under an option, but the team has that option. They're in control. So that rookie deal in the CFL is a 2-year deal. They call it a 1+1, but that second year they end up calling you back.
They do that a lot in the NBA.
Yeah.
NBA.
So I had a 1+1 in Canada. Went up there. So let me rewind for a little bit. My last year in the NFL was 2012. Like I said, I got into a little bit of trouble. I received probation. So I was out of football for 2 years. I didn't play from 2012 to 2014.
Oh, wow.
I ended up going to CFL in the spring of 2014. Yep. That's when I signed with the Toronto Argonauts. Ended up going up there, and I just had I battled injuries a lot, for real, that first year back into football. Just hamstring strains, little small tears.
Well, 2 years out. Yeah, 2 years out. That makes sense,
Yep. So I was in the CFL that year, that first year. I ended up playing in about 7 or 8 of the 18 games. So I missed about 8 to 10 games, I think. Mm-hmm. The last game I played in, I ended up tearing my groin.
Oh.
So yeah, at the time I didn't think I needed surgery, so I sat out like 3 weeks, but didn't bounce back fast enough. So I ended up having to end up getting surgery. So I missed the playoffs that first year in Toronto. I had off-season surgery on my hip, and went back to Toronto, got cut in training camp, got picked up by Hamilton. So I was playing for Hamilton in the 15 season of the CFL. Played there, did good. I was starting at boundary corner, pulled my hamstring. So yeah, I was back on IR for like 3 or 4 weeks. And then once I got back into the flow of things, it ended up being a good season. And then after that, I come back and I signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the end of 15 for the 2016 season. So I was really just in Pittsburgh though until week 1. I got released in week 1. Yeah, and then
go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you got. All right, so yeah,
hey, I know there's more to it. You're gonna finish up the story, but just so far, how you've been able to deal with so much adversity, be out of football, make it back, not only to the CFL but back into the NFL, which people don't understand is a very, very, very tough door to open back up once.
Yeah, it was real difficult, honestly, man, because at that point in time, I didn't really have an agent. You know what I'm saying? So when I got back from the CFL, I'm searching for an agent to represent me because my goal is to get back to the league. That was my whole purpose to go to the CFL, was to get back to the league. So I'm actually calling agents to represent me. It was like I'm used, like, you know, when I was coming out of college, they were calling me. So it's like now I'm recruiting agents. And I had a couple agents tell me that, you know, I should hang it up. So I was like, I heard that from a couple agents, and I was just like, forget it, I'm gonna do it myself. So I just started reaching out to teams. Like I called I just started thinking in my head, like, what coaches that I know, you know what I'm saying? And figured out where they was at, did some research, figured out where they was at, and I started texting, calling, like blowing them up. Like I wasn't afraid to get on nobody's nerves, you know what I mean? Like I was on it, like texting them. If they didn't respond, texting them the next day, like. So, and I finally got basically the head coach that drafted me, Todd Haley, was in Pittsburgh. So he basically helped me get a workout set up in Pittsburgh. I worked out for him. They invited me. I had to do rookie mini camp, bro. I was 30 years old at rookie mini camp. But I made the team off of rookie mini camp, man. You know what I'm saying? Out there running around with the young guys. Coach Tomlin signed me, invited me back to training camp. I had a good training camp up until a point, got hurt again. I pulled my hamstring. So a lot of soft tissue injuries, bro.
So it sounds like your injuries, that's interesting that you keep talking about how you were injured. I didn't even know that, but we were actually wanting to ask you today kind of about off-season and injuries and the effect that it has on these players, because we're seeing right now in the NBA, there's a lot of athletes that are getting hurt, and a lot of people are blaming the shorter off-season. Obviously, for you, it may have been the extended off-season that caused you some issues with your body, but what's your opinion on off season and how that correlates to injuries for these players? And is there anything that these players should be or shouldn't be doing to prevent this from happening every single season?
Yeah, especially when you look at least from the NFL side as well, how players aren't wanting to really participate in OTAs, and that is, you know, injury prevention. The reason behind that is injury prevention. So what do you think?
I guess my perspective may be a little different. Like I wasn't a high mileage guy in the NFL, if you know what I mean. Like I wasn't a guy that was playing 60 plus plays every week. So my body may have felt a little bit different than, let's see, a star player on the team. You know what I mean? So for me, the offseason was always about proving something. You know what I mean? Trying to, you know what I mean, crack that point in the roster to where, you know, not that you feel like you've arrived, but you know, you've kind of really made a name for yourself and you have a more significant role on the team. So that was more of my off season. It was more so a grind. You know what I mean? And when it was an extended off season, when I was away from football, there was a point in time to when I was released from Kansas City that I was like an active free agent. I feel like my name was still kind of in the market, but then it was like this long drawn out period where I feel like it was kind of like forgotten about. So I literally went 2 years where I was just like grinding every day, just hoping or anticipating some type of workout. So I'm doing 40 type stuff. I'm doing conditioning. I'm doing crazy workout, and I'm trying to make sure that my technique is still sharp for that part of the workout and stuff too. Like literally, bro, for 2 years. So it's really tough to say. I think it really depends on the individual and how you play throughout the year. I think one thing I learned later in my career training with the trainer, Andrea Hootie, she was the strength coach for the Kansas men's basketball team at the time. And one thing she helped me understand is like my off season doesn't have to be the same type of stuff that the season is. You know what I mean? Because then it's like you're never really getting a break. So,
yeah, that's actually a really great point.
And so it's like kind of tailoring back on some of the intensity of stuff, and just really giving your joints a break. Like I had a lot of soft tissue tears, so learning how to keep my muscles sharp and in shape, but not having to like kill myself all the time.
Yeah.
So I started doing a lot of pool work, a lot of like functional stuff where it's just a lot of like body weight control, like balance. And then we did like a lot of like weird type of workouts that it wasn't so traditional, you know what I mean? But it was all for like body control, function, mobility type stuff. So I can't really comment too much on what I think of how a basketball player they play 82 games in a season. You know what I mean?
How many games did they play last year? Was it this season was 72?
72, and last year was shortened.
Yeah, with the bubble, right? The year before that was the bubble, so they were playing the normal season, and then it was cut, right?
Weird,
and then
yeah.
they put together like I don't know what it was. It was towards the end of the season, so they put together like 12 games or something like that.
They probably may play like 50 some games maybe because they missed a lot.
Right. Then everybody went to the bubble. You know, I think maybe it was that time off that might have been more effective for the NBA players than the shortened off season to come back and play, because not only are the bubble teams having injuries to their players, but it's the other. I mean, think about the Nets. The Nets were in the bubble last year, and they got two of their best players, struggling with injuries right now.
But a part we have to just some of it is just a part of the game, whatever sport it is. You know what I mean? Like me being a defensive back, I mean, I just knew that unfortunately I was going to have some soft tissue injuries. Basketball, ankles, unfortunately, sometimes ACLs. Like some of it is just a part of the game. To the point that you made about like the break that they had before the bubble. Sometimes it's not the break, it's what you're doing during that break.
Exactly. And
you know what I mean? Because you see some people came back and like, I mean, look at Devin Booker, for example.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like he really was cooking in the bubble. So he made a lot out of that time off.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not necessarily the time, it's what you're doing with the time. And it's How do you be effective and give your body a rest, but at the same time build on things, you know what I'm saying, and stay in shape. Like for a while, I used to think the off season was all about lifting weights and running.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
In my younger
early
days.
on, yeah. Then you see some older guys, you know what I'm saying? You just watching people, or you start to learn your body a little bit, and you figure out that I don't really need that.
Don't need it. Don't need it. I got to commend you, man, because the mental fortitude that you have to have with everything that you've been through, just from a football standpoint, we're not even talking about like normal life yet, right? To have the mental fortitude to get drafted, right? Go through a little hiccup, be out of football for 2 years, but still be able to stay locked in long enough to give yourself an opportunity to get into the CFL, to then get back into the league. I know during some of that time there had to be, some doubt, some question marks for you. Where did
Oh,
you find the mental fortitude during that time to tell yourself to keep going?
man, like I said, bro, it was a 2-year process. So honestly, that was kind of my first experience with being cut. I had never not made a team or never not been good enough for a team for whatever the reason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was a gut check in a lot of ways. It was eye opening. It was motivating. It was a roller coaster of emotions, man. Early on, I wanted to like find blame or for somebody else or point the finger at something else. And like I said, I had got into some trouble off the field, but then I had, football is a very performance based business. You know what I mean? So it's easy to congratulate yourself when you're doing good. And I, I was realizing that, there were some instances where I underperformed. So it wasn't all, I was able to accept it. You know what I'm saying? I got to a point to where I was able to accept it. Um, like I said, it was my first time being cut, so I wrestled with that a lot. Like, am I not good enough, or is this just like, is this just a situational thing? You know what I'm saying? Being a free agent wasn't easy. You know what I'm saying? And like, I wasn't like the typical free agent. I was a free agent for 2 years.
Yeah, I feel
You
you.
know what I mean? So it was the first part. It was like stages. Like that first stage of it, it was kind of like I was fresh out of camp, so I was still in that football shape. The mindset of like I'll still already know a playbook like the back of my hand. I'm kind of encouraged about somebody picking me up pretty soon.
Right.
And then weeks was going by. You know what I mean? Like we talking first couple weeks, then week 3, week 4,
Yeah.
week 5, and like literally like every day, bro, I would go to the gym and I would come home, get on ESPN, check the transaction wire. I'm looking to see who got released and
Right.
see if there's an opportunity for me. You know what I mean? And bro, like literally, I went through that whole season. I remember getting to like week 8, week 9, and like doubt started creeping in.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like, yo, I might not get picked up.
Yeah, I've been there, bruh.
And I was every day though, like I just in the back of my mind, I was scared to not be ready if somebody called me. So that was like motivating.
Right.
You know what I mean? That if I go a year and a half and then somebody called me and then I'm not ready, like, bro, that would kill me.
And
You know
that's
what I'm
on us. We
saying?
feel like that's on us.
Yeah.
That's on. You know what I'm saying? I should have been in the gym. I should have been on the field.
So, right, bro.
That mentality
So,
comes with playing the game, right?
yeah.
All the way
Yeah.
back starting like college, staying ready. That's always like the mindset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have
Go
to
ahead.
ask about, I mean, you're talking about how this experience was a lot of ups and a lot of downs. Something that I love to advocate for and talk about on my platform a lot is mental health. Because just because you look like you have it all together or you've got all these things in front of you or all these potential opportunities doesn't mean that your mental health is great. I was at TCU for 4 years. I was a TCU showgirl. I had a family that loved me so much. I had friends.
What's a
It was
showgirl?
everything. TCU showgirls, it's the dance team.
It's
Cowgirl boots, pom-poms.
Okay. Okay.
So I did that for 4 years. I had all these different things that should have made me so happy. Like everything should have been perfect. And a year into this school that I was so blessed to be at, I had to come home early because I was hospitalized for suicide. So I know a thing or two about mental health, and I try to advocate for it every chance that I get. I imagine your mental health at that time was tough.
Oh man.
And what helped you through that? Because everyone's a little different, but mental health is nothing to mess around with. And you can be the strongest, most put together person in the world, but when your mental health is not there, it's not there, and it's tough.
And Liv, I gotta piggyback on something too on your question, because I think there's two aspects of it. There's the aspect of the mental health part of it where you're still fighting to get back onto the field and create an opportunity for yourself. And then there's a mental health aspect to it where it's over. Like I'm actually never going to play football again. And that is probably even tougher than the comeback part of it, the part where you're fighting and stuff like that. The moment you realize it's like, man, my career is really old. I've been playing football since I was 14 or whatever it is, and it's over. That's really tough for a lot of ball players to deal with in every sport.
I mean, to that point, or to piggyback on what you was talking about, man, it's just like that's been your identity. You know what I'm saying? Not only the time that you spend with the sport, but even like away from the sport, you just so dedicated to that from a little kid that when it's finally gone, it's like, who am I? What am I? You know what I'm saying? Like, what else am I good at?
What's my purpose?
Yeah, but to go back to your question or to your point about mental health, I was in shambles, and I didn't even really know it. And I was suicidal at a time. A lot of sleepless nights, cried a lot, but just had I just feel like I had no headspace. Couldn't even really start to get any like control over what was going on in my head. It was just like trying to process so much, telling myself certain things. You know what I'm saying? Like the stories that you start making up in your head.
Oh yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it was crazy. And then that was like a lingering effect.
Well,
that lingered for a while because, sometimes as a black male, when you express yourself or the way you express yourself doesn't always get heard or doesn't get heard for face value.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of times where I felt like I was crying for help but wasn't being heard.
Well, and two, being a football player, being a man in general, you're expected to be strong. We're the emotional ones. Women are the emotional ones. So I think it's important that people understand that, as much as you guys are these football players that people love to watch, and you guys are kind of have become entertainers on the screen. I essentially think that's what football players have become nowadays. But you're humans with emotions, with problems, just like anyone else. And I know from my personal experience, it was hard for me to admit that many, many times. It was hard for me to admit that there were things that, I needed to talk about or talk through. And then you do kind of just get to a point where you're mentally numb. Like you don't even have any control anymore. So I appreciate you talking about that, because I think it's important for people to hear that it doesn't matter, man, woman, old, young, football player, normal, average Joe. We all deal with this kind of stuff, and it's tough. It's tough. So I just wanted to touch on that because I can imagine that your mental health was definitely something that was, an added stress of yours. So,
oh man,
even bringing that up,
and at that time, sorry. I didn't really understand that the mental health was something that could be worked on. You know what I mean? Like I was just so caught up in to make sure I'm ready for a workout, make sure my body's in shape.
Yep.
That when I at certain points of the day, like it's just I don't know, it was tough.
We forget that our brain is just as important as
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, for the
Absolutely.
longest time, I didn't think mental health was even like really a thing like that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's,
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and you realize like it is, and therapy is beneficial. And even if you need a psychiatrist and meditating and whatever coping mechanisms that you use, those are real things. Those real things. So
Mm-hmm.
we appreciate you touching on that, Donald. I want to shift gears a little bit and transition over to your college career. You went to Ohio
Mm-hmm.
State. You were a Buckeye, the Ohio State. All right.
Oh, don't add
Seems
the
like
V.
seems like
Drives me
everybody.
nuts.
You
Oh
can't forget
my
the
gosh.
V. You can't forget it.
Seems like everybody wants to copycat that now. Every
Yeah.
school
Oh,
it wants to be the Notre Dame, the Michigan. It's like,
can't.
okay, guys,
We
let's.
know who to associate it with. It's just the Ohio State.
It's the Ohio State, man. We got to give credit where credit is due, man. You were there during the Jim Tressel era, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, obviously there was some some things that went down, during that time. I know you were there to experience some of that. But I don't want to put the focus on what happened at Utah State, but I mainly want to talk, or excuse Utah State, the Ohio State.
Look, he's getting all the V's mixed up now. Oh, wow.
Ohio State. But I do want to touch on how, back then what happened was, obviously players were wanting to profit off their memorabilia,
Well,
etc.
that was after me.
That was after.
That was after me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so, but now we see, and Liv, you can help me out with this, but now we see college players, right, being able to finally benefit off their likeness and being on a video game and getting their jersey sales and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that happening? Because quite honestly, it sounds good, and Liv and I were talking about this the other day. But there are still some people out there, even former players, former athletes, who say, guys don't really need to make names, make money off their name. Maybe if you up their stipend check, if you give them a little more as part of their scholarship, that's good enough. But to actually get a check for a jersey sale, being on NCAA, video game, EA Sports, whatever, that shouldn't happen. What's your opinion on those
I
things?
mean, if somebody else is making money off of me, why can't I? That's my thing. Like all this money that's being generated around these players' likeness, these players' name. It's
Mm-hmm.
only right that they get a piece of that. Like, so however you give it to them, whether college athletes leave college and they have like an account, you know what I'm saying, or like whatever. But I just think there's a lot of money generated around athletes, around people's likeness, their name,
That might actually be a good,
and then people are struggling.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like so,
in college.
and there's been athletes, man, who've had great college careers, but didn't quite pan out in the league.
Mm-hmm.
But their name in college probably generated a lot of money for that university.
Definitely.
You
It's
know
a
what I'm saying? But they never really made any money off of football because they were an
right,
amateur.
right. Then they get
So
in trouble for all of these taking money from boosters or an agent, right? And you sit back as an athlete, like, what did you expect me to do?
yeah. So it's bro, I honestly, man, I think it's like I said, there's too much money around guys. It's
Mm-hmm.
too much money around the sport, the business of football, basketball, whatever sport we're talking about. I mean, you look at these big universities, just think of how much money the football program, the basketball program is bringing in.
Right.
So,
I think you
uh,
said something that was pretty cool, bro. And Liv, I don't know what you think about this, but because the NFL does something similar, right? You have these benefits, and if you play 2.5 seasons or 3.5 or whatever it is, you become vested. Once you become vested,
mhm.
then you have these, you have your severance and you have your annuities and your 401k, yada yada. You can't get it until a certain time, right? Like for example, one of the annuities is you can't receive your
55.
annuity until you're either 35 years old or 5 years removed from the league, right? Either or, whatever comes first, right? So for a college athlete, for a collegiate athlete, I think that's pretty cool. You take whatever they made in sales, or a bobblehead, or obviously the NCAA video game. You put it into an investment account that's going to appreciate over the 3 or 4 or 5 years that they're in school. And once they've either declared for the league or graduated,
right?
boom, here's your lump sum. Not a bad idea at all, in my opinion. Instead of doing it like every summer, or where they're just gonna go get Jordans and
nice cars, stuff like that.
By
Yeah.
the time they graduated college, their mental is gonna be a little bit different. They're gonna be thinking about other things than getting J's and a Charger, a Challenger to ride around the school with the all black rims. And
I was saying, are you speaking from personal experience? Because that was like you had the rim
There's some
color
details,
and
right?
everything. He had the details to a T.
I was
think
dreaming, okay?
Okay. All right. No, I agree with you, Donald, that I mean it's your name, it's your talent. People are watching your talent, they're watching your hard work. So there's a level to it where I kind of see both sides, but I also want to kind of tie this into sports betting a little bit because, as you know, Turbo's getting into the sports betting world. The sports betting is growing insanely fast. It's everywhere now. We'll get to where it's headed next, which is Canada. They're in the process of trying to get it out there legalized. But my question for you is, there are players that are making sports bettors millions of dollars a game. I mean, when you see some of these tickets that people are, putting on their stories or posting on Twitter, they're putting like 10 grand on James Harden to have 6+ rebounds. It's like, what? So in those situations, you've got the fans that are mad as ever that they'll be the first people to blame the player for losing them $10,000. Like, screw you. I hate you. I'm done watching you. I'm done betting on you. But when they're making millions of dollars for people a game, not only for people, but also these sports books that are benefiting from all these tickets that they're getting in on these specific players. Should players profit in some way, shape, or form? I don't have a number or percentage, but should players profit off of the money that they drive to the sports books? It was one thing that you could only bet on the spreads and the totals and the money line, meaning, you pick this team or this team wins by this many points. But when you're now looking at specific players, like I can look at the points for James Harden. I could look at the assists, the rebounds. Not only that, I can look at his threes. I could look at his points and rebounds, his points plus assists. It's insane. I mean, you're literally betting on his every single move. Do you think that players should be able to profit on the amount of money that they drive to the sports books every night?
That's kind of touchy. Am I
It is.
echoing to y'all?
Yes, echoing.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. All right, it's done. But I guess it gets to a point to where, like, how much of the integrity of the game is at stake. You know what I mean? So I guess kind of involving the players into this sports betting, it's a lot of money. I just don't know how you do it without jeopardizing the integrity of the sport.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say that is because, let's say a player is mad at a bookie. Bookie owed a player some money, and he wants to retaliate. All right, I ain't doing nothing in this game. You know what I mean? Like,
you're right. Yeah, I didn't think about that. We could be opening a dangerous can of worms with that.
Yeah, it just could be a dangerous can of worms with that. So it's
absolutely.
I think it's a good way to keep the fans into it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good marketing tool for individual players. I think to grow the fan base, to gain more eyes. I don't know. Maybe
I do have to say too that Vegas, they know exactly where to set that damn line, and
a little bit too accurate, bro.
It's creepy accurate. So,
hey, Rob, you know how I think. So,
hey,
well, that's exactly why we're bringing it up.
Talk freely. You know,
well, I want to hear your perspective on this because there's what's called the hook, which is the 0.5. Like, you can't score half a point in basketball, so they'll set James Harden's line. Yesterday it was at 17.5. I think he ended with 16. All he needed was one more basket. So it's like how he scored 0 points last game, and Vegas, for whatever reason, decided to pull the number 17.5 out of their butt. And originally it opened up at 15.5 to start the day yesterday. So what made Vegas go, oh, he scored 0 points last game? Perfect. We're not going to put it at 15 because everyone's going to bet the over in a playoff game. Because if they would have had it at 15.5, Vegas would have lost a lot of money. But for whatever creepy, weird reason, halfway through the day, Vegas moved the line to 17.5. How much of a hand? Because I know my brother sits on the couch and he goes, yep, Vegas had their hand on that free throw. I mean, people have true theories about this where they're like, it's just the accuracy is creepy. What is your take on Vegas being so sharp and being so accurate all the time with players that it's not like you guys are robots, you know? I mean, I would love to hear your thought. I feel like you're brewing something up right now. I'm going to get nice and situated.
Oh, we could talk about this for a long time.
Well, lay it on us.
I'm kind of one of them. I don't know what you would call my thinking, but I can be out there at times on topics.
Outside maybe
outside the box. Yeah, I mean, I'm a free thinker.
Yeah.
I challenge things. I'm not afraid to like challenge a thought or challenge. I'm not afraid to be the only one in the room thinking a certain way. But back to that point, I think they have a big hand in it. A lot of these sports books have partnerships with the leagues. So at the end of the day, this is all a business. It's what's going to draw the money. How can we make the money? You know what I mean? And yeah, they can, sometimes there's like, how did he just miss that? Or how did it just happen just that way?
Sometimes it looks like their eyes are closed at the free throw line to intentionally like ruin your night. It drives me nuts.
I don't know how much I want to go in on this podcast.
I feel you.
No, I mean, the reason I brought it up is because I think there's a lot of people that think the way that you're thinking right now. And I think you're not alone. There are times where I have been burned so many times by where Vegas sets that line, and it's always by that half. It's always by the hook. And you're like, how did you manage to, like, nothing about the last 5 matchups that this team has played would have made me set their line right here. Where did you get that from? And it's weird. It's weird.
All right, so let me ask you, what do you think about it?
Put it on her. Put it on her. I'm supposed to be the host. Nah. You gotta say.
Yeah, first. I want to know what you gotta say. First. Yeah.
I do think Vegas has a hand in it for sure. The reason I say that is just from my own personal betting experience of how many times it's been scary accurate in ways that I'm like, I just don't understand at all. I've gotten a little bit better at watching line movement, and if the line moves without an injury, a new injury happening on said team, I always am like, I'm gonna stay away from that one, because it's weird to me that out of nowhere, because normally a book will say, we'll take I'm talking specifically for player props, they'll take their average, they'll look at how they've performed up against that opponent all season long and take the average of that and stick it on the sports book. When that number starts to look different than the average, I'm out of here. You are not going to get a dime on that bet because something's weird. I agree. I think Vegas has a hand in it for sure. I think there's no way when you're betting on other human beings to be that accurate all the time. You guys aren't robots. You're athletes. You guys don't even know what you're going to do in any given game, right? I mean, so how in the world does a Vegas sports book know that what you're going to do in any given game? You guys are going out there every night, putting your best foot forward, hoping to get, career highs and personal bests and all these different things. So what makes Vegas think that they know exactly how you're going to perform when you're going out there with the mindset of like, tonight's the night. I'm gonna go off tonight. And then you look at the Vegas sports book and your line is shot down and they're expecting a horrible performance out of you. It's like, well, how do you know what I'm about to go do right now? Because I know where I'm at in my head.
Right.
So yes, I do think Vegas has a hand in it, and it's crazy to me. It's crazy, but hey, I still keep betting. So no one should feel sorry for me because I keep on giving them my money. And I think that's just it. Sports betting is becoming so crucial, and you can't watch your favorite post-game show anymore without seeing the logo of a sports book flashed everywhere and all these different boosts and deals and all these different things. And so you're almost like suckered into it a little bit. And it's growing. And it's also growing in Canada. And they're in the process right now of trying to legalize sports betting. I know right now there are some parlays that are legal, meaning you can bet on more than one matchup. But they're looking to try to legalize the single game betting. Was betting big when you were in the CFL? Did you see it there? Was it something that you thought, oh, Canada's going to get behind sports betting soon? Or are you kind of shocked by it?
Honestly, I'm kind of shocked by this whole wave of sports betting. I kind of remember it was kind of looked down upon at one point in time in the sports world.
It's got a bad reputation for sure.
Yeah, so to see it just kind of just like take this big wave has been kind of shocking, honestly.
Well, it's like you said earlier, man. It's money, It's
but it's too profitable to not. That's what it is. It's like I used to just think of betting as like the casinos type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I am very surprised of not only like how fast it's growing, but like the perception. It's like it's cool. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
no, for sure.
It's like everybody just kind of jumped on board with it.
I think we realized with COVID and with the pandemic just how much we needed sports. And when you stripped that live interaction away from people where they couldn't be in the stadiums, they couldn't be in the arenas, they couldn't get the autographs, all they could do was sit at home and watch from the TV. That hurt a lot of people, right? Because sports is so much about that interaction, about that entertainment factor, about being there, experiencing it, the crazy fandom, all that stuff is part of sports. When the pandemic ripped that away, I think what we were left with was a bunch of people desperate for sports, one, to return, and two, to get involved. And sports betting kind of started getting really big around the pandemic. And people were like, this is the best way for us to stay involved and interact with our favorite players, teams, and sports. And so I think the pandemic honestly helped sports betting quite a bit.
You're exactly right. And to the point you said involved, I think what drives sports betting or betting is people are emotionally attached to their money, their bread, right? So, and as a fan, you got that same emotional attachment to your team or to your players, right? Like you said, when you wasn't able to be as interactive, even if it's just being in the arena, cheering on, like when you got some money on the line, you are just as in
You're
tune
cheering.
as if you know what I mean.
You're
No matter who
cheering.
it is.
Oh,
Who
you're
it is,
cheering.
nothing.
Yeah, geez.
Nothing.
You should have seen me
That's
last
the part,
night in that
that's the
Bucks
part I
Nets game.
always didn't like about sports betting at first. I'm like, how can you I don't get what you guys are doing right now. I want the Lakers to win, period. That's all I care about. Like, oh man, it's about, I
The
need
line, like I need them to win by this much.
yeah, tell me
So crazy.
I need this
Now
person to
Turbo's
be
in his living room screaming at the TV, cussing out the
tripping.
spread.
Mad because
They
James
seen it.
Harden missed
I don't
1
see
3.
me. I don't see me live on Booking
Yeah.
Sports, man, watching the games. Like, man, come on, man.
Yeah, I need them to get one more goal and I'm good.
Right. They losing. Like, I don't want the Warriors to lose, but they gotta lose by this much. All right, so I can cover.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
It is.
But that's what, yeah. So that's where, like, I think it has to stop at the fans or the spectators, because the emotions of that money.
They'll make you do some crazy things.
Right.
It will. I mean, and you know what? Honest to God, and this is not to sound like all scary and whatever, but I have thought about that. Like some player, some athlete getting attacked on the street because he lost someone a bet. I mean, those are things that should be thought about.
Yeah,
and that is protection that should be put in place, because money is money. That's stuff that people work hard for. And when and some people can't detach themselves emotionally from the other side of that money. They put the money down on this player and they're like, "Okay, I just paid you, do your job." They don't understand that on the other side of that, it's a human doing their best. So I do think it's really important that at some point down the line, as we see it legalized in Canada, I know Ohio just passed a bill. I know there's a bunch of other places right now that are in the process of legalizing this. I say within the decade, every single state in the country is going to be legalized. It's going to be taking over. And if that's the case, there's got to be protection in place at the college level, at the professional level, for people to understand that it stops on your screen, right? You place the bet, now leave it alone. And if you can't respect that, you can't do it. So, you would hate for that one crazy person to ruin it for everybody because they can't emotionally detach themselves from their money. But with money involved, you gotta, these leagues and these sports books gotta remember this, and it's gotta be something that we remember, we keep in mind. But Turbo, I know you had one last question you wanted to ask him, or some things that you wanted to bring up about football.
Yeah, the game.
The game, anything. You are the football guy. I don't really know a ton, but maybe what you guys are liking this year. You know what? I'll ask it.
You know
Turbo,
what? Yeah,
Donald.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go.
What are you guys? We have a new NFL season approaching us. It's right around the corner.
Right.
Obviously the Bucks, Tom Brady, the GOAT, whatever you want to say, he won. Yay, awesome. Do we see that again? There's this thing, I don't know, Donald, I'm sure you know a little bit, but about the futures market, where you can place a bet right now on who you think is going to win the Super Bowl. And if you're, because it's so, until the season starts, it's like, how am I supposed to know that? Some people will put money on the winner when the value is really awesome and cash out really, really big. So if you had to put a futures bet down right now, I want to hear from both of you. What team are you liking this year? And not necessarily maybe to win it all, but maybe a team that I should keep my eye out on, a player, a quarterback I should keep my eye out on. Donald, we'll start with you, but what team's on your radar this year?
Do I got to pick just one?
No, you can give me a couple.
All right. Well, I want to.
Who you putting your money on, dog?
I'm first. Let me say this. Let me put this out here. This disclaimer, I guess. I'm not as into it as I used to be.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? I'm just not.
I don't blame you. Also, based off of the things you told me, I don't blame you for being a little removed.
I have to be, because I got to talk about it on TV. But you know where my head is at. I'm trying to get into.
I do. Right. So yeah, I just. But I think the Chiefs. I just think the Chiefs are in the middle of a run. You know what I mean? Mahomes is hot. He's kind of he's hot. They have a great team around him. I just feel like they got something going right now. So I feel like they're gonna always be up there. I mean, Tom Brady, bro, like whether you want to give him credit or not, he always gonna be in the mix somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So they have a good roster down there too in Tampa. So I'm gonna give them that. But if there had to be not only a surprising team, but a team that I feel like is just right there and might crack in there too. Not just saying this because of Rob, but I think Seattle right there again. And I also I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan. So
Where
I
do
don't
you
know
think he's going to
how
go?
that works. It's gonna be weird to not see him in Green Bay.
So weird. I'm with you.
I think Denver would be a good fit for him.
I'm in Denver. Sorry, that was a lot, but I'm in Denver. So
I think Denver is a good fit for him. They got a quarterback mind that kind of runs this team over there in Elway.
Right.
And I don't think that team is far away. They're a couple pieces from being back in the picture.
love that.
Yeah, I can't see him not playing in Green Bay.
I
If he ain't
know.
in Green Bay, I feel like he got to be somewhere cold. But
I know his fiance is from Boulder, Colorado, so maybe that's one of the reasons he's leaning.
And haven't he been linked to Denver in some way?
I've heard different things. I don't honestly. They got me all excited in my family group chat. They were like, "Rodgers to Denver" the day that all this stuff was coming out, and I'm still like looking at my watch, going, "When?" Because you guys got me all excited for no reason. So I've stopped tuning into that, but I do think there's some sort of Denver connection for him. And it's cold here.
I don't know. For some reason, I could see him there.
In a little orange and blue moment. I love it.
Yeah, and I think it's a good fit though. You know what I mean? I think Elway is a guy that's going to get some pieces for him, kind of going to meet some of his demands, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Denver. I mean, Elway's a quarterback too, so he kind of knows the thinking of that. So yeah, and I just remember how he kind of ushered Peyton Manning out of the league towards the end of his career.
Yep.
He took care of him. So yeah, I could see Denver really taking care of him. I mean, that seems to be the reason for this fallout anyway. So yeah, I want to ask you a couple questions too before you slide out.
It's all good. It's all good. But the Chiefs, man, I just think, look, they got their one, and I just think it's going to be a long time before they get another one. They're that type of team. I think they handled winning as well, but they didn't handle being back in the Super Bowl again for a second time. Then you started to see some selfishness happen this offseason with the Chiefs, right? You saw some of their team leaders say, I ain't taking a pay cut, you know, and you know, amongst other things like that. So to me, of course, the Chiefs are going to be in the fight because they're talented enough. But as far as taking that step to win the Super Bowl again with this era, with this team, I think it's a long shot. You know, I think Seattle has a better shot of winning another title right now in this era, you know, than the Chiefs do. But they have to make the right. To me,
are you biased? Is that biased though?
No, it's not biased. It's not biased at all. I think the Chiefs this season have a better chance because Seahawks, you know, still have a couple moves, in my opinion, that they need to make in order to solidify a Super Bowl run. One of those being KJ, bringing KJ right back. As I understand that they want to see their young guys flourish. The guy that they drafted, the linebacker, I think his name is Jordan, that they drafted last season. They want to see him develop more. And in order for him to do that, it takes reps. I'm a believer of that. But I also think that they need another DB. I think bringing back Richard Sherman may not be your fastest guy, your most explosive guy, whatever the case may be, but his IQ is through the roof. And he's a big time playmaker.
I was gonna say he's a ball player, man.
Yeah, and that's something.
Ball player.
That's something Seattle needs, especially on their defense, and it's good for a continuity standpoint as well. I mean, he's a good person in the locker room. He's a great teacher of young players, and I think KJ's the same way. So it only helps your defense making those moves. So I got Seattle up there. The Chiefs are definitely up there. Tampa Bay, I think, is likely to repeat if they're able to stay healthy. They're just.
You think they can repeat?
Huh?
You think they can repeat?
It's in the cards. I mean, they got their entire team back. When have you ever heard of 22 starters coming back for an NFL team before? Never. So that camaraderie, that chemistry, which they struggled with early in the season when they started last year, and ended up obviously fucking finding it somewhere in the middle of the season and winning the Super Bowl, is only going to be that much better.
Right. And now they're starting with that chemistry.
Yeah,
so
going into OTAs, going into, and I'm not afraid of them not knowing how to handle winning, because you got Tom Brady. And Tom Brady is always on this quest of greatness and stuff like that. So you have to give Tampa Bay the edge. So if I'm putting my money anywhere on a team to win the Super Bowl this year, it's probably Tampa. The whole Aaron Rodgers thing, man. Listen, to me, Aaron Rodgers, it can't be about, you hear these reports about he doesn't have enough help and all this kind of, it can't be about that, because if he wants to go to Denver does not have a better roster than the Green Bay Packers, period.
Mm-hmm.
Denver does not
but it could be somebody in Denver that's willing to make moves for him.
That,
you know what I mean?
Very much so, but we're also getting ready to be in July. How many more moves can be made from July until the trade deadline that's going to be that impactful that somebody else is going to accept as well on the other side, that's going to put your team over the hump to win a Super Bowl. If you go to the Denver Broncos right now, you're a year out at least. And you're definitely not making it to the AFC Championship game because you don't have a good enough roster for that right now.
Yeah, but I also feel like the NFL is kind of, free agency in the NFL is a little different than it used to be. It's almost a little more entertaining. It's almost like the NBA almost.
Right.
So it's tough to foresee some moves right now, but around the trade deadline in the NBA, it gets hot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like the wire gets busy, so to speak. So like you said, it's tough to see. And let's say Denver is the team that he goes. Let's just say hypothetically speaking, say Denver.
You put your money bet on it.
Nah, I'm not saying that, but let's just think about what would Aaron Rodgers need to be effective to make a run. You know what I'm saying? A solid defense. Yeah. He never really had a great running back. So a few good receivers.
Right.
He never really had.
He already has that. So to me, that's why I'm saying it can't be a roster thing with Aaron Rodgers. These reports, he didn't have enough help. How much help do you need? Let's go back to when he won the title.
No, I'm not. It's not. I'm not saying he don't have help. I just think it's a matter of, like, for example, he come out and say he likes a guy, that guy gets cut. So it's like, what are y'all trying to do? Are y'all building this around him, or are y'all trying to usher him out, type of thing?
Well, I mean, I understand what you're saying, because when you're a quarterback and you're a quarterback of Aaron Rodgers' status and stature and done what he's done in the league, you definitely want to cater to him to a certain extent. But to
a certain extent, what do you mean?
Organization wants to give total power to any one player. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's keep in mind now, there's only really one special individual playing in the league right now, and his name happens to be Tom Brady. That's how he's able to get Antonio Brown onto the Bucks, where or the other quarterbacks like Russell per se wasn't able to do that. Okay. Aaron Rodgers has one title. He's had fantastic teams. Let's keep in mind that they've been in the NFC Championship game 2 out of the last 2 years back to back. You're right on the doorstep. How about we sit back for a minute? And I'm not discrediting Aaron Rodgers at all because he's one of the greatest of all time, and he should have more say, and he should be able to be involved in decision making a little bit more. But let's see and check out his performances in those NFC Championship games and what has transpired. Other than what happened in Seattle years ago, where dude tried to recover the onside kick, and that wasn't his job. His job was to block. Okay, that was on him. Other than that, let's take the last 2 years and see what Aaron Rodgers has done. Now, I don't have the stats in front of me, so we're not going to do it. But what I'm trying to say is your team is – you have a great team. When he won the title, do you know that there were 15 starters on IR that season? Majority of them on defense. Do you know that their defense was ranked overall in the 20s? But they were in the top 5 in takeaways, right? So you know it balanced itself out. But overall, their defense wasn't great. They were just an opportunistic defense with Charles Woodson and some of those other guys, right? Who just knew how to make plays during the right time. He didn't have a receiver like he has right now during that championship run either.
Man, he had a few good receivers. I mean, he had I guess. And I'm not trying to, it's not, I guess one thing that I want to say is different is he has one great receiver now. He has one weapon to where back then it was a solid team, especially on offense. He had like Greg Jennings. Was Donald Driver there still?
Nah, Donald was with Brett Favre.
He ain't win one with Aaron Rodgers now? Who was his receiving core?
I know he had Jordy. Because that
Jordy
was
Nelson. Greg Jennings was like a real big target for him. I remember him.
So Greg played with both. I thought Greg was with Favre, but he might have played with both guys.
Yeah, I think Greg won that. Because who did they beat in the Super Bowl? The Steelers, right?
You know, that's a good ass question.
I'm almost positive. I think it was the Steelers.
Yeah, it probably was Pittsburgh.
I think it was the Steelers. Yeah, I think it was the Steelers. Yeah, but no, man. I just think Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he needs like a superstar. But I think there are certain things that you do for your star players.
I feel that.
And then I think there's ways to send messages to your star players.
I feel that.
And I think when certain things start happening, I think you're sending certain type of messages.
Right, and that's what I think it's more about.
Right. And I think those things stem from roster moves.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's very true. In defense, though, as like he can't be too upset because
I don't think he's upset saying that they don't have enough. I think it comes from
y'all completely ignore like my suggestion.
Yeah, like. I just think it's kind of like a slap in the face if if I make a comment about somebody that I like that's up and coming and then y'all cut him.
Yeah. Well, I think
that's
overall,
a huge slap in the face for sure.
That I think Green Bay takes a step back this year. I think they still make the playoffs, but I think they take.
Now they just got a distraction. This is just something that's going to be talked about, even if it ain't really nothing. This is something that's going to be talked about every Sunday on ESPN. Is Aaron Rodgers happy? If they lose, it's because he ain't happy. If they win, well, it's the relationship is cool now. You know what I'm saying? You know how it is, man.
The media is gonna feed off of this, like
So now that's in the locker room now. Now they got to answer questions about it.
Yeah, that's tough.
Definitely.
That's tough.
Anyway, Liv, to answer your question, that's what I got right now. The top 3 teams in the league: the Bucks, the Seahawks, and the Chiefs.
So you put your money on Tampa?
I'm putting my if I'm going to Booker Sports right now, if I'm getting on the app, what you need to do. Okay.
I got the app. What you mean?
Okay, that's what's up. And I'm putting in my future bets. I'm picking Tom Brady to win the Super Bowl, man. I'm just picking to win the Super Bowl. And people keep like
I'm gonna go with the Chiefs, man. I would pick the Chiefs, probably,
man, because they keep poking the bear, man. They keep bro. Like, when are you guys gonna stop messing with this man? saying little comments, and then Patrick Mahomes want to tweet, "We'll see what happens in 20 years." Like, bro, you better stop playing with this.
But I think the Chiefs, bro, are. I think they're a little fired up now. They're back hunting again. They were the hunted. Now they're hunting again. You feel me? Like you said, they didn't really handle the success that well, right?
Yeah.
They stopped hunting people. You know what I'm saying? They was just winning off talent.
Yeah, they was. Well, we'll see.
Now I feel like they back hunting, bro. They made some moves that are very beneficial. I just think, man, that you gotta. Well, I think Patrick Mahomes is
somebody who is a continuous like hunter. He ain't never stopped hunting. That thing loaded all the time. That rifle, cock. You know what I'm saying?
Who is that? Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about Brady. I'm talking about Brady.
All right, so do you think time is gonna ever be a factor with Brady?
Nah, I think he done found that. I mean, time has already kind of showed itself in Brady, but he take care of his body way too much, man. He's a disciplined person, bro. He's disciplined. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to Booker Sports app. I'm putting in my future bets, and I'm going with Tampa Bay.
I'm surprised none of you want to talk about the Browns.
I mean, what do you want to talk about?
Okay, all right.
You ain't got nothing to say, Turbo?
I'm gonna leave.
He just laughed. He just laughed in my face. That's what he did. Yep.
You a Browns fan?
I kind of became one this year.
I mean, I know a lot of Browns fans being in Ohio for a while. I just feel like Browns.
Think that what I said was the funniest thing.
How do we go from Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes and even the Seahawks and even Aaron Rodgers to the Browns?
Yeah, that was kind of random.
Like,
what's your intent with that? What you got? What you got with the Browns?
They had a good run. They had a good run.
Come on, Liv.
They had a good season.
Come on, Turbo.
For sure. I'm not putting no bread on them. If that's what you ask me, I'm not
putting no bread on me because they might not even win their division.
Right.
I'm definitely not putting my money on this team.
Yeah, I'm not taking on the Book of Sports.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But Turbo, can I ask you something about Vegas and sports?
Okay.
I ain't really hear what you thought about. Let me hear what you got to say.
I mean, we not in control.
Okay.
We're just not in control.
That says a lot. Says a lot.
To me, like, there's no way. I mean, you can be you can know the game in and out, side to side. You can know it like the back of your hand, But every sport, I mean, for them to be as accurate as they are, we're not in control, bro. How they control it, I don't know. I don't know if they got something in the basketball. I don't know if it's like
they do. If they have to.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
I saw it last night with James Harden. He had 16 points. He needed one more, and he was under the hoop, ready for a layup, and he passed it, and it got hit off the hand and out of bounds. Like, why did you pass the ball?
I don't know.
Even Doris was like, that's a shot he would normally take. I'm like, you're damn right, Doris.
I don't know if the players are involved.
You must have put some money on that.
I sure did. Dang it.
I know one year the NBA referee was caught, right, doing some stuff in the betting sports world where, they had to release him and everything like that. Why? I mean, was he getting ready to expose some shit he wasn't supposed to say?
Probably.
Like, thinking about it now as opposed to then, like, then I was super naive, like, damn, this motherfucker, like, but now it's like, Now that I'm
he was on to something.
You know what I'm saying?
I think the refs are like,
and you haven't heard from him since.
Yeah, it's like he out of there, gone.
He hasn't done an interview about that's a big deal. This
he ain't wrote a book. Have you wrote a book or anything?
Referee in the NBA for 20 plus years. and all of a sudden you get fired because you've been calling games a certain way to win some money, and ain't nobody
That
talking
payout
to you
to
since
stay
then?
silent must have been
Well,
big.
that's what I was about to say. I think referees are more so uh, controlling the game versus officiating it.
Yeah.
You know
Last
what I mean?
night
Like,
was one-sided whistles the whole night. I'm
I
like,
think that's every game. Like, it's like the WWF. It's an outcome that they already know. Now they just gotta make sure it
It
goes the
happened.
way it's supposed to. You know what I'm saying? Like
oh, that makes
WWF, you know who gonna win the wrestling match before they even do it.
Yeah.
But it's you get locked into the entertainment of it. You know what I'm saying? I think it's very similar to that.
I've even noticed that too with these like new like boxing matches with all these celebrities that are stepping up going, I want to fight like Jake Paul. What are you doing? You're a YouTuber. Go back to
They
YouTube.
figured out a way to make money with it.
Making
Well,
money.
and that's
It's
the
just
thing.
making money.
Sometimes I watch these fights and it looks like they're
It's
acting.
acted out. Yeah.
He's like,
Absolutely.
they're flying their bodies all over the and I'm like, okay, what is going on right now? Seriously, but honestly, I've had moments where I have thought like that is so scripted. It's like nothing about this is like it's solely for entertainment purposes and money.
It's hard because it's like as a player, I've never been asked to like, hey, it's always been like encouraging, like, man, I need you to get 5 touchdowns today, like something like that. All right,
Right.
man, I try, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
I think that's more motivation though.
Yeah,
Somebody's motivating
but
you.
it's like, but it's just like it's tough to be, like to put the players involved because it's just like, for the most part, at least from my experience, we out there playing for real.
Right. Don't you think there's probably more control, less control on the players like and athletes, more control on like what Donald said, the officiating, that call could have totally changed the game for this team, but they didn't make that call. So now
I think it depends on team sports and individual.
But just think of how like in a game like in a sport like basketball or football, how officiating can literally change momentum, change the ebb and flow of the game.
Yeah.
It can I feel like so to a certain degree, officiating can help a team get hot and it can make a team go cold.
Happened last night.
I'm trying to figure out like what is Vegas or somebody like sitting in them seats mad at Drew Brees? What did Drew Brees say, you know what, I'm cool? Because it seemed like the Saints for about 3 or 4 years back to back would just get some of the most just blatant like calls go against them. Oh well, yeah. You know what they said. We're just not. So we're not.
Maybe he refused to cooperate in the world of betting, and now they're punishing him for it. Woo! Conspiracy theories. Woo! That is something to think about.
If you look at some stuff like that, you'd be like it happens once, okay, but when it happens like 3-4 years in a row,
dramatic fashion.
Yeah, and I'm talking about like blatant, but this is not like close call, like nothing
It's
like
dramatic though. It's dramatic. It sells almost.
Like, yo, what's something going on? Something is going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think all in all, we know that sports betting is very popular right now. It's only going to get more popular in the future. Like I said, give it a decade. I think every state in the country will be legalized for sports gambling and wagering. And
I don't even want to see what sports going to look like in a decade.
It's kind of scary.
It might be some new leagues.
Yeah, GM.
It might be some new
leagues.
I feel like
Did you just say you're going to be an NBA GM, Turbo?
Yeah, that ain't the first time I heard him say that.
That's my dream job. I'm serious.
Why are you laughing like that?
That would be so fun.
She laughing because she don't think it's an achievement.
You don't think it's
That's not true. No, that's not
okay.
True.
When I'm sitting there in that
I do think you'd be one of the most intense GMs.
What?
Like Oh yeah, in terms of like getting into the game, like you'd be like,
Oh yeah.
you'd be out there with them practically.
Yeah,
He got
I'll
a
be
good
out there
poker
too.
face though.
Huh?
You got a
That's
good
right.
poker face.
Yeah, I do. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
behind the smile. The smile's deceiving. He's
Yeah,
smiling, but in his brain, he's like ready to fight. Always. You know how you know that meme where Arthur's got his fist like this next to him? Have you seen
Right.
that?
Yep. I know what
That's
you're talking
Turbo.
about.
Two little fists like
That's
this.
funny.
Anyway, Donald, thank you for taking the time out of your day to
Mhm.
talk with us. I think we got a lot of great conversation. We knew that we needed to ask those Vegas questions because he was like, Turbo literally said yesterday on our call, he's like, yeah, he's gonna have a lot to say about this one. So it's a good one.
I tried to not get too crazy, too weird on that topic. I think I
You
did
said
all
great
right.
things. You said great things.
I think I did all right. But Turbo's heard me go in on that type of subject before.
Deep. We done had some deep convo.
I love it. No, I love it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking time to be here and talk a little bit about the sports betting space and your career and your mental health and all that good stuff. It was really good to hear from you and sports betting.
I appreciate y'all having me. Turbo, you
Chiefs
know what it is.
and Bucks.
It's very nice to meet you. Yes. Go Chiefs.
It was nice
Go
to meet
Bucks.
you as well. Yeah, we'll stay in
Yeah.
touch and maybe we'll have you back on during the NFL season and we can see where your bets are sitting at that time. We'll do a little
Cool.
check-in period.
All right, cool. All
Awesome.
right. Y'all have a good one.
You
All
too.
right, man.